Hi, how's it doing? How's it doing? Wow, I'm nervous. How's it doing? How's it going, everybody? Welcome. I wanted to try something a little different. I wrote. This is actually my second horror story that I wrote. It's short. I'm gonna do the reading myself. I don't like the first horror story that I wrote because it's my first one and it's embarrassing and it's poorly written. And I thought I could be unique on focusing on a bunch of different perspectives from a bunch of different characters, and that's just not how it works. But honestly, I just like I said, I want to try something different, and I hope you enjoy my reading of my story in the swamp. So please enjoy. Food was scarce out here, and I didn't have much time left before the sun set on the marsh I inhabited. Things get eerie here if you're not indoors by sundown. Have your doors locked, windows shut tight, and whenever you do not look at the beast that inhabits the old swamp. I call him Hutch. He may appear human, but it's wrong. Nothing seems right about him. Just looking at him is enough to screw with your vision. You start hearing voices with no body to accompany it. This is why I always keep my gun at my side and make sure it's loaded. Bullets don't seem to affect him, only slow him down. He stalks me, lurks me around my home, making noises, trying to get in by trying to pry open the windows or trying to the front and back door. He's never forceful on the old cabin. Something is locked or blocked, it simply gives up without a fight. I can see its shadow through the window curtains, and its eyes glowing like the moon. They're soft blue, too human looking for whoever he is. Hutch visits me every night, but I won't let him take me like he took my wife. Poor Daisy. I damn near filled that thing with lead, and all I could do was watch as it tore into her and chewed on her insides. That was the first time we saw Hutch, and I haven't been able to get rid of him since. He scratches at the windows and makes awful gurgling noises like his throat is filled with swamp water. Now, I bet you're wondering why my wife and I moved out here in the old swamp. Simple. We don't take all to the city life. Too many crazy people. And I wanted to raise our son in an all-natural environment, living off the land and appreciating nature. That sort of thing. It's a shame we lost him due to starvation. It weighed heavy on our hearts, and I've never been able to forgive myself for letting him die. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have to prepare for Hutch. She'll be arriving shortly. Chapter 2. I stand at the table, taking apart my rifle, and start cleaning out the barrel. Thoughts race through my mind, ones of hunger and starvation. The squirrel I ate wasn't enough to fill me. I need more, but it's dark, and I hear Hutch creeping around my cabin. His scratching and gurgling is a plague on my ears. Why can't he leave me alone? He already took my dear Daisy from me. He isn't getting me. I won't let his insatiable appetite get me. Lord knows how hungry I've been, despite desperate times create awful choices. Ones you regret, ones you can't forget about. As I put my rifle back together, I hear the doorknob turn and rattle, but the door remains locked. My stomach growls and grumbles, and I put my hand over my belly. Sorry. We're going to bed hungry, I mumble, and put the bullets in my rifle. I started hearing familiar voices, ones that resonated with my son and wife, crying and wailing in pain and agony. I hadn't realized I was staring at Hutch through an open curtain. All I could make out was his beautiful blue eyes. I never understood how something so pretty could be filled with so much hate and rage. I gasp as my brain shakes the voices away. My shaking hands dropped my gun and I ran to the curtains, face to face with Hutch, those gnarled, crooked teeth dripping with a viscous black fluid. Hutch grinned and put his hand on the window. I couldn't look away from him. My arms refused to cooperate. Close the curtains, damn it! The voices echoed in my brain like I was tapped in a chamber. His mouth then opened and Hutch began to speak. His voice overpowered the ones that lingered in my ears. Shut up! I yelled and finally pulled the curtain shut. I was hyperventilating. Warm tears dropped from my eyes. I fall to the ground in a fetal position and just cry myself to sleep on the floor. The last thing I hear is Hutch walking away with wet, heavy footsteps. Chapter 3. My eyes open to see that I'm laying on the cold wood floor in my cabin. The memory of what happened played in my mind like a broken record as I pulled my face off the floor, my cheek peeling off it like Velcro. I hadn't realized how hot it was, and I take a deep breath, rubbing my brows in annoyance. Back to the swamp, I muttered and grabbed my rifle. I didn't bother changing into new clothes. I was only going to get dirty again. Stepping outside, I can feel the sun beating on my old skin. It was harsh and unforgiving as its rays gleamed through the old trees, putting my hand over my dull blue eyes to shield them from the sun. I had made my way to my hunting stand. Working my feet through the thick marsh, I climbed up the rusty stand. The stink of the marsh filled my nose, but I had grown used to it over the years. Now I sit and wait for my meal to pass by, my rusty rifle in my grasp. If I'm lucky, I'll be able to get some venison. Hours gone by. Nothing. No deer, no squirrels, not even a decent-sized bird. My stomach was starting to ache and grumble from the lack of food. In desperate attempt, I lift my water jug to my lips, hoping it would quell the starvation that plagued my stomach. I lean back against the boards of the stand, and everything goes dark, and my body falls limp. I rocked back and forth in my chair, staring out at the old swamp, my gazing turning towards my beloved son and wife, picking flowers and collecting bugs of all sorts. I was smiling. I hadn't smiled or felt any joyful emotion in years. I didn't want this to end, but like a blister, he kept returning. I looked back towards my family. My son is gone. My wife lay dead in a mangled pile of her own intestines. Hutch stood where they were, and all he did was smile, grinning at me with those awful teeth. And I woke up, back in my deer stand. The sun was gone, and I could hear no animals. The crickets didn't even make their sweet song because they knew that Hutch was near and was circling my hunting stand. Chapter 4. My breathing was heavy and labored. What was I going to do? Hutch was around my stand, and the moment I jumped down, he'd be on my ass. Why hasn't that bastard come up the stand? I muttered to myself, gripping my rifle tight. I peer over the edge of the stand to see him looking up at me with those haunting blue eyes. Just leave me alone! I fired a bullet into the forehead, and he staggered back and fell over. I grabbed my flashlight and jumped out of the stand, hitting the ground with a thud. I tumbled across the warm, damp grass. I lost my gun, but I still had the flashlight in my grasp. I panned my light back and forth in a panic. I couldn't find my gun, but I am greeted with a feeling of pain in my left shoulder, like knives digging into a victim's flesh. I yelled in pain and threw my fist into Hutch's face. I felt my skin rip as he stumbled back, feeling blood drip down from my shoulder and trail down my arm and side. "Fuck the gun!" I yelled, and I was scared and ran for what I believed was the direction of my cabin. I couldn't have been more wrong. I must have been running for 10 minutes before I stopped and tripped over a tree stump. My body collided with the wet, warm grass, and I heard something collide with the murky waters of the swamp. I see my only source of light get enveloped, and had nothing but the pale moon to light the old swamp. I heard no animals or insects, just the wind and the sound of Hutch getting closer. I found my way towards a tree and leaned against its trunk. Taking my right arm, I reach into my shirt and pull out a locket. I can't see it, but I know what it contains. A picture of my wife, son, and I. I've given up. I can't run from Hutch any longer. I click the locket open and start to cry as I accept my inevitable fate. "We always loved you," I mumbled through tears. "We're so sorry, Hutch, but your mother and I were just so hungry."